All right, guys, let's get into just general winners out of the draft. And I'll start here with this is an easy one, right? Xavier Worthy, a guy I didn't see as a first round pick. I saw more of as a top 50 player, but he goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. And the easiest drawback for this one, if you want to look at usage or what Andy Reid thinks Xavier Worthy can be in this Kansas City offense, is Deshaun Jackson. And I know it feels like low hanging fruit, but Worthy is a guy, great speed, great tracking. He could simply stretch the field, make big plays down the field. We know Mahomes is going to, push the ball down the field and build trust with Worthy. They have Hollywood Brown there. That's only a 1-year deal. I still think he'll be involved in the offense. But if you're looking for a great spot to go, Xavier Worthy got his perfect place in this draft.
I think especially, by the way, because he can be more than just a burner and a deep threat, where they didn't always use him the right way at Texas, but they tried to use him a lot of different ways. And even if he didn't have like a ton of success in 2022, I know like Steve Sarkisian didn't really seem to know how to use him. He has experience being used in a lot of different ways, a lot of different areas of the field. So hopefully he's not just a pure burner deep threat.
Yeah, if you followed Bill's Twitter on Thursday night, they're fitting Xavier Worthy for a Hall of Fame jacket. The fact that the Bills and then traded to the Chiefs, who took a wide receiver, it's just like all of that added up to everybody being like, well, obviously, if the Chiefs wanted him, he's going to be great. There are some concerns about the size. Obviously, he is light. And obviously, the other component is like, yeah, it's great. He has deep speed. We've talked in the last 2 years about the way that defenses are taking away deep passing. So theoretically, it is a perfect fit, and it's great for Mahomes. Does that mean that all of a sudden the deep ball is going to open up again and they're not going to have to just throw over the middle of the field to Travis Kelce? Who knows? I mean, if there's anybody that can scheme this guy open, it's going to be Andy Reid, though.
The other thing I'll just say very quickly is that there's opportunity there, right? Especially long term. Listen, Rashee Rice, had a great year, and obviously he's had some off the field issues, and he'll likely be suspended. But at some point he will come back. But other than Rashee Rice, obviously you mentioned Travis Kelce, but how much longer is he going to play? Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Justin Watson, all the other MVS, Mecole Hardman, all the other pieces that are there in Kansas City. There's a lot of names, but not anyone that other than Rashee Rice that you point to and say, yeah, that guy needs to be in the field every single snap. Xavier Worthy has that opportunity. You think about Andy Reid getting the extension. Obviously, Mahomes isn't going anywhere. So there's a really great landing spot here for Xavier Worthy. I think I saw this on Twitter. A reporter saying that text from an AFC general manager when he found out that the Chiefs got Xavier Worthy. F me.
Checks out.
Checks out.
It's just such a good point, by the way, Matthew. Like, how often does this kind of opportunity open up in an offense that just won back-to-back Super Bowls? Usually someone like Xavier Worthy is going to an offense. He's like the Panthers that's trying to rebuild and surround young players with weapons. He's going to the 2-time defending Super Bowl champion.
Which, if you ran back the tape after Sky Moore was drafted, I'm sure people said the exact same thing, which isn't to take anything away from the Xavier Worthy call. It's not always as simple as like, the Chiefs are great. He's good. He's going to be great. I think it's a great landing spot for him, and I think the upside.
Yeah, but Eric, I'll push back on that, and I'll turn to Connor Rogers to fight my fight for me here. But I don't Sky Moore. I feel like the hype on Sky Moore was more about landing spot than the talent. Yeah, right. Xavier Worthy was considered a first-round talent. Period. Yes. End of story. Now, where will he land? Sky Moore was like, oh, here's a guy that's kind of interesting, and all of a sudden now he's playing with Mahomes. But this is different in terms of like, here's a guy that we think was going to be a stud regardless of landing spot, but the landing spot happens to be, one of the greatest offensive coaches in NFL history and the current, GOAT of the NFL in Patrick Mahomes.
And Sky Moore was one of those like kind of postseason risers where he wasn't a like, oh, this is a first or second round draft pick, like coming into the year, then he really started to gain steam, and then he went to the Chiefs, and then it was kind of like a perfect storm of he's going to be a fantasy superstar, and it never materialized.
Eric, who is a winner for you that, in terms of where they went?
Yeah, I had JJ McCarthy. It's not a surprise where he went. Like, everybody thought he was going to end up, there in Minnesota anyway. There's a couple things I really like. First of all, obviously, anytime you're throwing to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, that's a huge win. And TJ Hawkinson, whenever he's back, we don't, know officially the recovery time from the knee injury, but that's 3 massive weapons. And that's huge for any rookie quarterback. Also, huge upgrade for the Vikings in the running game with Aaron Jones there now. And that's just always nice for a rookie quarterback, too, to have a much better running attack than the Vikings were able to put together last year. And so that's a good little safety blanket as well. I think also, like, listen, Sam Darnold has always been a talking point in terms of failed draft picks, or, add him to the list of Jets draft picks that didn't pan out. But he is a competent enough quarterback that McCarthy doesn't have to be thrust immediately into the starting lineup because the Vikings don't have anything else. If they want him, to bring him along a little slowly, let him play week 5, week 6, depending on how he progresses in the offseason, it's not him or nothing. So I think you have good pass catchers, a solid running attack, somebody who can be a bridge so that he doesn't have to get on the field until he's ready, and a scheme that really benefits kind of opening up the passing attack and really pushing the ball downfield. And I think it's a great landing spot for a guy who, I have some Michigan bias, obviously, but I think is going to show people that he is a far more competent quarterback than some people believed he was, because he played on a college team that didn't need him to carry the load for them.
My only quibble on JJ McCarthy to the Vikings, say what you will about him, it is true that he was spoon-fed at Michigan, where they ran to pass the ball. He was managed and manipulated. He was put in position to succeed. Like when he did pass, it was in good situations. Of course, he wasn't asked to pass very often. And I just worry about going from a team that runs to pass to a team that passes to pass. Like, we'll see how much Kevin O'Connell can really change the system. He's from the McVay system, which is very versatile. We've seen all sorts of different styles out of Sean McVay, but we've only seen one style out of Kevin O'Connell so far. And if you're going with a super pass-heavy, pass-first system, JJ McCarthy is, of course, not the first guy who comes to mind, but so much talent, both on the coaching staff and in the locker room.
Sure.
And that's the point, right? I mean, that's just sorry, Eric. But
no, go.
That's the point I think that Eric's making, Pat, is that likely he's going to play indoors. He's going to play for a pass-first coach. And so even if he struggles a little bit, even if he's not the most efficient guy, the volume and the talent of the players around him, plus the play calling. Kevin O'Connell, I think, is a really good offensive play caller.
Elite.
I mean, Kirk Cousins, looked as good as he's ever looked under Kevin O'Connell in that offense, in the dome, with those playmakers. And so I do think that, well, you can argue that maybe McCarthy's a little bit more manufactured and set up to succeed than maybe other college quarterbacks coming out. I don't see why that can't continue fantasy-wise. He made Josh Dobbs a thing. He made Josh Dobbs a thing, right?
He made Nick Mullins a thing. I mean,
I'm
in
just
fantasy
saying.
At least, yeah.
So. Yeah,
I'm just saying,
also,
Connor Rogers.
I think also there's this idea, yes, the spoon-fed aspect, I understand what you're saying, but in opportunities where McCarthy had to make plays on his own or make plays in less advantageous situations, he made them. So a couple of the stats, his completion percentage on scrambling was over 71%. And then his third and long completion percentage was 73%. And he completed first downs on over 55% of third and longs. So there's an idea that those are not advantageous situations, right? Getting into that isn't that he was spoon-fed to be in a situation to be able to get a layup throw for a first down. Or, he had a really good offensive line, so he always had a clean pocket, and that's why he made good throws. Those things happened and they're true, but they're not the only narrative of him. And I think that we didn't see those opportunities that were disadvantageous to him as often, but I think he answered the bell in those situations. And I think he's going to be able to do that, maybe not immediately, but within his rookie year, within his NFL career, that skill set is there.
Pat, who ended up a winner for you?
Listen, you could argue this guy would be a winner wherever he went. And you could also argue you want your first round elite wide receiver to catch passes from at least someone middle of the pack and not a bottom 3 or 4 quarterback situation. But I think Malik Neighbors to the Giants really is a winner because he's going to be the sun, the moon, and the stars of this offense, basically. And he's the kind of receiver where quarterback play just doesn't really matter. Takes short area targets, not the only thing he takes, but he takes short area targets. He's the classic rolling ball of butcher knives after the catch. He can be schemed the ball so easily from a coach who schemes the ball so easily. Kind of all Brian Dable's done with 2 years to the Giants is create manufactured touches and try to get the ball in playmakers' hands because they haven't had the downfield talent and they haven't had the quarterback talent to deliver it. And so you see Malik Neighbors with Daniel Jones and Drew Lock, and like, man, like what a waste. Like, are we going to have like 2 or 3 years of Malik Neighbors' career where he's not living up to his potential? But I mean, he's fighting for targets with Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, and Jalen Hyatt, and Theo Johnson, the rookie, like you guys mentioned. There is potential in that group, but this is still like a bottom basement skill core. And betting only on opportunity and projected touches can be dangerous with rookies, but I just think he really is like that scheme. The scheme doesn't matter. The quarterback doesn't matter. Like, you can get the guy the ball so easily, and they are going to do so in New York.
Yeah, I'm with you, Pat. He's quarterback proof, which is a crazy thing to say about any wide receiver. But when you look at the situation Garrett Wilson went through when he won Offensive Rookie of the Year, and then obviously Rodgers got hurt last year and he was still really good. Guys that know how to separate within the first 0 to 8 yards and are also effective off of manufactured touches and then can stick their foot in the ground and win over the top, really win at all 3 levels. Those guys overcome those situations. And you nailed it, that the opportunity is just insane. I mean, Matthew, we're going to be talking about Malik Neighbors all summer.
Yeah, for sure. And like Chase made this point before as well. Like Daniel Jones struggled last year. Daniel Jones is fine. Like again, give Daniel Jones a healthy season, a little more playmakers around him, maybe a better offensive line. But like the idea that Daniel Jones is like some sort of like disaster.
He's not Zach Wilson.
Like
He's not Zach Wilson.
He's not what the Jets had last year, for sure. I mean, he's not Ben DiNucci. Like, I'm just like, and all
Desmond Ritter. How long can we do this?
Daniel Jones is
Kenny Pickett.
Daniel Jones is going to be fine for the purposes that we care about him, which is getting the ball to Malik Neighbors. He's going to be perfectly fine. Like a year ago at this time, Daniel Jones had gone on the road, beat Minnesota in the playoff game, got a massive contract, and no one was going like, what are the Giants thinking? No one said that. You know what I mean? Like, he had one bad year. It was a very bad year. I get it. But, and it didn't help that, Tommy Cutlets comes in and lights everything up. And Tyrod Taylor, and they both look better than Daniel Jones. I get it. But I'm just saying, for our purposes, can he get the ball to Malik Neighbors, especially when they're going to scheme touches for him? Yes, obviously can. I agree with you, Connor. And I agree with you, Roto Pat. Malik Neighbors, there's a lot of videos going around on social media about like how happy or unhappy he was to go. And, he thought he was going to catch passes from Justin Herbert, and now it's Daniel Jones. But fantasy-wise, just he's going to get a massive volume. And if some of them are off target, whatever. He's going to be a stud.
Well, Matthew, speaking of Herbert, close us out with your winner.
It's Ladd McConkey. I don't know why Connor Rogers hates Ladd McConkey with a fiery passion. He does. He did not like it when I picked him in our dynasty draft that I'm in. Pat, true. I'm in a league with a bunch of with like a lot of your former colleagues, like Scott Barrett and Graham Barfield and Evan Silva. A lot of these guys, all Sharks. It's a tough league, and we do our draft because Barrett's an animal. We do our rookie draft prior to the NFL draft. So anyway, my second round pick, Ladd McConkey. Connor hated it. But,
it's not the circumstance, Pat.
But
it was Ricky Pearsall or Ladd McConkey, and I said Ricky Pearsall.
It's fair.
Who's taken first by Kyle Shanahan?
Which is true. I don't know. I just kind of like Ladd McConkey. I don't know why, but one of the things I like about him, Connor, in all seriousness, I like the versatility. He can play inside. He can play in the slot. I thought there were more opportunities for him to come into the NFL and have an immediate fantasy impact. My team is built to win. And so I did that. And could not have asked for a better landing spot for Ladd McConkey than the Los Angeles Chargers of Anaheim, where there are over 300 targets vacated with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams moving on. I want to give you guys a list. Here's a list, okay? Here's a list of every Chargers wide receiver that for their career have more than 38 receptions. Josh Palmer. That's the list. That's what he's competing with. Yeah, I mean, Quentin Johnson, like, whoa. I just honestly, like Gerald Everett's not even there. And I get it. Harbaugh and Roman, they want to run the ball. I understand that. There's concerns about that. But even if you're running, you think about those Baltimore teams, there's still productive wide receivers. They're still going to throw somewhat. And the fact of the matter is given the massive talent, the massive target opportunity, McConkey's ability, and the fact that Justin Herbert, regardless of what we think fantasy-wise, because they're going to be more run-heavy, Justin Herbert is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. So he lands in a spot where there's very little target competition with an unbelievable quarterback. And by the way, defenses that are going to be focused on stopping the run. So this is just an amazing landing spot for Lad McConkey, my guy. Connor, for some reason, hates with a fiery passion.
Yeah, I think also like the interesting thing you mentioned that like Harbaugh's coming in, and so everybody's like they're going to run the ball, but he was a little more creative over the last couple of years at Michigan with the way that they got wide receivers the ball. There's a lot of bubble screens, there's a lot of play action, so using the narrative right of the run game to create that play action, which opens up opportunities. And McConkey is a guy who consistently can get open, especially in short areas. That if you're like, hey, we're going to take a 5-step drop and, chuck it down the field to you, maybe not the best guy. Hey, we're going to use pre-snap motion. Hey, we're going to use play action. We're going to move the pocket. We need you to get open 5 yards down the field and then take it for 10, 15, whatever. Like that fits into his skill set. I think it's a good landing spot from opportunity, but also I think the scheme fit is better than just like they're going to run the ball a lot and he's not going to get opportunities. I think he will in a scheme that's tailored to his skill set.
You guys hit the nail on the head where it's not just about the opportunity, which is stratospheric, as Matthew pointed out. There's no one who's even ever caught the ball on this team. It's the intent where they just don't want things to be so complicated and hard for Justin Herbert this year. They don't want him throwing 45 times a game. They want to have a real running game for the first time ever. They want to have some easy passes. Lad McConkey profiles this as the ultimate easy pass guy over the middle of the field. It's such a good landing spot.